And to be able to help them in that way, I myself need to achieve my highest potential, the fully awakened state. And in order to achieve that fully awakened state, I must engage in both of us path practice. For that, I need to continue to reflect, contemplate, meditate continuously, correctly. To be able to practice, we need to be reminded of the practice, inspired to practice. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk, engage in discussions, reflecting, contemplating. Okay. Sangye chodang soge chonam la chanchu pato dane kyapso che dagi jinso gi be sonam gi lola penje sangye dupa sho sangye chodang soge chonam la chanchu pato dane kyapso che dagi jinso gi be sonam gi Dola penche sangye dupa sho sangye chodang sogi chonam la chanchu patu dani kyapso che dagi jinso gibe sonam ki dola penche sangye dupa sho. Good morning again, and thank you very much for joining again. So the talk of this weekend is, as you know, introduction to the Lam Rim. And the Lam Rim means, Lam means path, Rim means stage, the stages, the gradual stages of the path. And path to what? Path to enlightened or fully awakened state. How we can engage in the path and step by step, stage by stage, how we can, progress to the final destination of fully awakened, fully enlightened state. As it's mentioned, it's introductions, so we don't have time to go any depth in each of them in terms of detailed depth. It will be more kind of introductions. And for those who are more interested in depth, I think there is a meeting studying on Lam Rim, reading, so that will be one way of studying more depth. Okay, so in terms of Lam Rim, the Lam Rim was, there are many different Lam Rim commentaries. Lama Tsongkhapa himself wrote 3, small, middle, great Lam Rim. And then others, the 5th Dalai Lama, 7th Dalai Lama, both of them have written commentary on that. Panchen, 2 different Panchen Lama has written commentary on that. And many others, masters have written commentary. So there is plenty of Lam Rim commentaries, and also in recent time too, commentaries. And Lam Tsongkhapa based this teaching Lam Rim on Adisha's Lamb of the Path. Adisha was one of the great Indian masters who came to Tibet around 10, 11th centuries. One of the great Nalanda masters. So Lam Rim was based on that, which is known as Lamb of the Path. Okay, just to give some of the and in the Lam Rim presentations, His Holiness Dalai Lama advised maybe the Lam Rim presentations sequences should be a little bit changed when he's presenting as introductions, because the Lam Rim itself was presented in sequences where a practitioner have already studied, learned all this, and they are ready to really engage in a practice. On the basis of that, that is how the sequence is presented. Someone who have really studies and study well enough, and someone who is really inspired to really get into it and in meditation practice itself, then in for that. But generally, so I thought maybe I will follow that His Holiness Dalai Lama's advice. Also, Lama Tsongkhapa also he explained even in Lam Rim during the middle scope too, the Dharma should be introduced or presented from the Four Noble Truth, from the point of Four Noble Truth. And His Holiness Dalai Lama also mentioned, it would be nice to introduce the Lam Rim either from the point of view from the Four Noble Truth starting, and then, or, what we call Tathagata Garbha, or Buddha's essence of the Tathagata, or Buddha nature. I thought maybe I might kind of start from there. So Buddhist understanding, especially Mahayana's Buddhist understanding, is that we all human beings, all sentient beings have what we call Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata means, the Buddha. Garbha means the essence of the Buddha, essence of Tathagata, Garbha. Sometimes it is known as Buddha nature, which means we all have the potential. Everyone has the potential to become fully awakened, fully enlightened. Everyone possesses that potentials. And that is because the fundamental nature of our mind is unpolluted, undiluted, uncontaminated in its nature. The fundamental nature of our mind is the pure, luminous, clear. On that level, the fundamental nature of our mind and the fundamental nature of the Buddha's mind, there's no difference at all. There is no difference at all between the fundamental nature of our mind and fundamental nature of the Buddha's mind. The only difference is that our mind is at the moment, covered by the obscurations. That fundamentally pure, luminous mind is kind of covered by the temporary obscurations. Whereas Buddha's mind has been clear of those temporary obscurations. And because those obscurations, even though our mind has at the moment obscurations with, obscured by anger, attachment, ignorance, jealousy, pride, and so forth. Those defilements, even it's been obscured, but those defilements those obscurations are temporary, is not in the nature of that fundamental mind. They are just obscurations, temporary obscurations. Buddha used this example of explaining the nature of our mind is the blue sky. Blue sky. The obscurations are like the clouds, temporary. Due to certain cause and conditions, temporarily those obscuration of clouds arises. And that can obscure the pure mind of that blue sky-like. But because they are temporary, they are not the nature of the blue sky. When the cause and condition changes, those clouds can be clear. And then there can be a totally blue sky that's totally clear of all these obscurations of the clouds. And when our mind is free from those obscurations permanently, then that is when your mind becomes fully awakened, fully enlightened. You become fully enlightened one, fully awakened one. When there is no more of those obscurations. So one way, whenever we feel that we have been too obscure, sometimes, we feel, we have this different feelings, emotion arise, and we feel that we are being overwhelmed by that. Remember, it's not nature of ourselves, it's not nature of our mind. This obscuration are temporary. The fundamental nature of our mind is clear, clean, clear, free from all this obscuration. That's the nature, like the blue sky. Remember, and remember those thoughts will come, whether it's a fear, whether it's a worry, whether it's a anger, whether it's attachments, jealousy. Recognize like the clouds coming and going, coming and going. Beneath those clouds, there's that clear blue sky of the mind all the time. Clear blue sky, mind all the time. It's important for us to remind that again and again, time to time. Especially when we feel overwhelmed by those obscurations, thoughts, different feelings, emotions. Feel like that all our mind is that. Remember, that is not how your mind is. That is not the true nature of your mind. The true nature of your mind is clean, clear, unpolluted in its nature, like the blue sky, and all these different feelings, emotions are just a temporary obscuration, like the clouds coming, going, coming, going. It comes obscure, but it doesn't obscure in its nature. Therefore, since it's in the not nature, they can be clear. Not only they can be clear permanently. And when you are clear of all these obscurations, obscuration defilement, obscuration knowledge, then that is your mind become Dharmakaya wisdom, Buddha. You become the Buddha. And it's possible to clear that all these obscurations. One, the fundamental nature of your mind is clean, clear, unpolluted, diluted. Secondly, those obscurations of the defilements and so forth are temporary. They are in not nature, the mind. And we know they are in not the nature of mind, even in, for example, even though we have fear arising, anxiety, worries, anger, attachments, they arise as jealousy, so forth, but not all the time. There are times when we are not angry. There are times when we are not, attached to certain objects. There are times when we are not so fearful and worried. There are times when we are not so jealousy. Even in those times, our mind is still there. Our mind is still there, but those different afflictive emotions are not there in that moment. If those afflictive emotions are in the nature of the mind, as long as the mind is there, they should be always there, because it's the nature of that, because it's the nature of the mind. If it's in the nature of the mind, as long as you are mind, you will have the anger all the time. If the anger is in the nature of the mind. If the attachment in the nature of the mind, you will have attachment all the time as long as you have mind. If jealousy is in the nature of the mind, jealousy will be always there as long as the mind is there. Because if it's nature, it will always, that is how it will be. But with our own experience, we realize those different thoughts, feelings, emotions, defilements arise due to certain cause and conditions, but they are not always there. But our mind is always there. Our mind is always there. Also, through certain practice meditations, we can reduce those defilements. Before you are very angry, and through certain practice meditation, you are able to subside those anger. You can reduce that anger. You can slowly, completely let go of those anger. And that is same with others. But when you are letting go of that anger, your mind is still there. Not only your mind is there, is one of your mind that's through those that awareness or meditations, meditating awareness or the wisdom that's clearing those obstacles, obscurations. So therefore it's very clear sign that is not in the nature of the mind. Nagarjuna give one example, he says, mm, what call the metal, I don't know, cloth is the right, like for example, like something like in the war you wear to protect armors, that is made out of metals or whatever, and when it's dirty, You can clean it by putting into the fire. One way of clearing those dirt. You burn the dirt, but it doesn't burn that. And it says similarly, through the wisdom, you burn the defilement, the delusions, the obscuration, but it doesn't burn the mind itself. If the obscuration are in the nature of the mind, when you burn them, you will be burning the mind itself. And therefore, that is where. And so that is a clear sign that while the wisdom can burn all this defilement, obscuration, but it doesn't burn the mind because it's not in the nature of the mind. If it is in the nature of the mind, when you burn those obscuration, you will also be burning the mind itself. So anyway, so that is, and so the fundamental nature of mind is not dilute in its nature. Obscuration are temporary, and we know it's temporary. Due to certain cause and condition, those defilement arises, and then it goes, comes and goes. And then there is antidotes to overcome those obscurations. If there's no antidote, then again, you might not be able to overcome, but there's antidote to all those obscurations. And because of that, therefore, is it possible to clear and overcome all these obscurations. Since it is possible to clear and all the obstacles, therefore enlightenment is possible. What does enlightenment means? Enlightenment is state of mind or state that is free from all these obscurations. That is what called enlightenment. That is what enlightened mind is. Enlightened mind is the mind that's free of all these obscurations. So is enlightenment possible? If enlightenment possible, then can it be possible to clear all these obscuration, those department obscurations? It is possible because on the basis, again, we just discussed the fundamental nature in our mind is not diluted in its nature. Obscurations are temporary, and there is antidote to overcome those obscurations. Therefore, those obscurations can be completely purified, completely cleansed, clear. And when your mind is clean, clear, and purify all these obscurations, then that is the enlightenment. Therefore, enlightenment possible. Therefore, enlightenment possible for everyone because everyone's nature of the mind is undiluted in its nature. Therefore, enlightenment is not something unreachable. The enlightenment that we inspire and therefore engage in the path to achieve that kind of enlightenment is not impossible, it is possible. And since it's possible, then one should put effort to clear them, because those obscurations, defilements and obscuration are root of our problem and root of problem for others. These are the root for our conflict. Our conflict with ourselves, conflict with others is very much rooted in all these afflictive emotions, very much rooted in jealousy, pride, anger, attachment, ignorance. Is due to all of them, greediness. If we don't have those defilements, obscuration, we wouldn't have so much conflict as we have conflict at the moment. We wouldn't have so much conflict with ourselves. We wouldn't have so much conflict with others. But when you have those obscuring defilement, then we will always have conflict. We will always have conflict. Even if you go in the cave where there's no one, you will still find a conflict. You will find conflict with yourself. You might find conflict with the weather. You might feel conflict with the insects, the plants. You will still be, something to complain, something to be unhappy about, something to be dissatisfied, something that disturb your mind. You will always find something because there's always the disturbance is inside. When it's inside, then you just need something to just blame it. When it's sun or it's too hot, when there's no sun or it's no sun, too cold, When there's no wind, unhappy. When there's wind or there's too much wind, so we will always find something. No matter what happens, no matter what, always something unhappy, to be something unhappy, something to complain. And that is because of this inside defilement, obscuration. When you are clear of that, when you are free from that, all this external condition doesn't disturb your mind, doesn't affect your mind. You will be just physically, there can be a little discomfort, but your mind will not be disturbed. Your mind will not be agitated. You will have nothing to complain about from your side, from your mind. You are just fine, okay with everything. Peace with that. And that is when you find real peace in your mind, peace in your life, peace in your heart. And when there is that kind of peace in your mind, in your heart, in your life, also you bring that peace into others. The peaceful energies make others peaceful. Sometimes when someone's mind is very agitated, disturbed, and they find someone very calm, peaceful, just being around there, that energy, their mind started to become more calm, peaceful. A lot of people experience that, being around with certain individuals who are very peaceful, calm. On the other hand, someone is very agitated, disturbed, and even though your mind was not agitated, disturbed, but being that around slowly, it trigger you. Even though that person doing nothing bad to you or saying nothing, but you just see that energies. That person very disturbed, agitated, and that affect you. And your mind started to become agitated, and you started to think, why is he doing that? Or how is this and that, And your mind also started to become agitated. Without doing anything, our state of mind can affect people around us. With a peaceful mind, we affect people around us to be more peaceful. When our mind is agitated, just by being in that agitated mind, it affects people around us to be more agitated. And of course, when your mind is agitated, not only you feel, then we cannot control, and then you say things that are not so kind. You do things, you act which are not kind. In that way, you hurt and harm others. So you experience pain and you bring pain to others. That's what happens. So yeah. So we are talking, so that is, since we can get rid of those permanently, completely, and then achieve that enlightenment, since it's possible, then one should put effort in that. So once you know that enlightenment is possible, and once one have some inspiration to achieve that enlightenment, then recognizing this human life is the most conducive to achieve that enlightenment. There are many different beings in the samsara. Among all different beings, 6 realms, the human realms is the most conducive to actualize that potential, the fully awakened state, to to clear those obscurations, human. And so then in the Lam Rim, then we talk about the practice of meditation on precious human rebirth. So we try to meditate and contemplate on precious human rebirth, by recognizing, precious human rebirth with, 18 qualities, 8 freedom and 10 endowment. With that qualities, is the more suitable and conducive to engage in a practice to reduce and to clear those defilements, those obscurations, and to be able to achieve the fully awakened state. The 8 freedom are, this precious human life is free from the major obstacle to practice the Dharma, which means major obstacle to really practice the Dharma means reducing, overcoming those defilements, those obscurations. That is what Dharma is. As some of the Katamba Master says, if any practice, any meditations, any form of practice, any form of meditation, if it helps to reduce and overcome the defilement, that is Dharma. No matter what meditation you do, no matter what kind of practice you do, no matter what form of practice meditation you do, if it doesn't help to reduce the defilements, but instead it increases the defilement, then it's not Dharma. Then it becomes non-Dharma for you. Maybe there is something wrong the way we do it. in order to become Dharma, whether their practice become Dharma to you or not, whether particular meditation practice, does it become Dharma to you or not, is if it helps you to reduce the one of those afflictive emotions and, to clear them, then it becomes Dharma to you. Instead of reducing one of those disturbing negative emotions or defilement, but if you increase then there is something wrong with that. Then the practice meditation is not becoming Dharma to you. So therefore, that is what the eighth freedom is: freedom from the obstacle to practice the Dharma. Okay? Freedom from the obstacle to practice the Dharma. The 10 endowments are having gathered the major conducive condition to practice the Dharma. So free from the obstacle and have gathered all the conducive conditions, the main conducive conditions. That is why the 10 endowments are. 10 endowment are those different conducive conditions we have gathered. Free from the major obstacles and have gathered conducive conditions. And when we have such precious human life with such hidden qualities, then that precious human life with such qualities is the most conducive, most conducive birth or state or being to practice the Dharma, to overcome those defilement, obscurations, and to actualize wisdom, compassion, and to achieve enlightenment. Through such understanding and meditation, then we try to recognize how this human, how it's so precious. It's so precious if we can utilize it correctly, if we can tap correctly to its potential, we can achieve happiness of this life, happiness, create cause and condition for happiness of future life. Not only that, we can achieve total freedom from all this samsara and all the delusions, and we can even achieve fully awakened state, fully enlightened. The state that is perfected and completed your own well-being and well-being of others. So because of that, then such human life become incredibly precious, so much precious. Not every life has such same conditions. Not even all the human beings have the same conditions. Even though we all have that Buddha nature, all human beings, all sentient beings, Buddha nature, but in order to actualize that Buddha nature, in order to fully blossom that Buddha nature, in order to fully discover that Buddha nature, you need the conducive conditions, and not everyone had that conducive conditions. Just to take one example, if we are born as an animal, forget about all the different challenges, sufferings in the wildlife, even in domestic life. But in terms of that, as we were saying, to reduce those afflictive emotions, to clear those afflictive emotion obscurations. We need to engage in certain practice, meditations, certain method to do that, because those obscurations are not going to go away by naturally by itself. You have to create a cause and condition that can reduce and clear them. That means meditation. And no matter how, of course, there are some animals who are very smart, okay? And they have different abilities. Some animal have incredible sight that we don't have. They can see very far away. Some have their incredible ability to smell from very distant. Some of them incredible hearing ability, where they can hear even the smallest sound from very far, you know. So they have incredible these kind of different abilities. Some of them much more than we human beings, especially their different, senses, ability, and so forth, and many other ability. But when it comes to contemplative meditation practice, their struggles, they don't have the same because of their brain, and because of that, they don't have the same level of the ability to analyze, use reasoning, logic, and analyze. They are more intuitive. Yeah, they are more intuitive. They don't have the same level of using reasoning, logics, like the way who we human beings have. Therefore, they have obstacles and challenge because of their body, the animal body, animal brain. They don't have the same conditions like we human beings have to be able to utilize that kind of the ability to reason and logic and analyze in the same way, and therefore they don't have the access to the practice, the meditations, to reduce those afflictive emotions, to reduce and overcome those obscurations. What do you think? Do you think that is the case? With any, some of the dogs are very cute, loyal, almost like unconditional, sometimes feel like unconditional love, even though maybe that is not the case, but sometimes it feel like, unlike like human beings, they have almost like unconditional love. Sometimes it feel like that. But if you teach them how to meditate, will they get it? They have even difficulties with even just chanting, saying, if you teach them how to recite Om Mani Padme Hum, that can be challenging for the dog or any other animals. Maybe some parrot might be able to imitate a little bit. Some of them,
Training my cockatoo to say hello.
Yeah.
Please what?
What about the lying birds? Can they do that?
I'm learning magpie talk.
So it is not easy for them to learn those, even just I always share, I saw one dog which can say Om Ahum. The first dog I've ever seen in my life. In New Mexico, a student have two dogs, and I don't know what kind of dog they are because I don't know those different type of the dogs. But one dog, he tried to teach both dogs, but one dog, it was impossible. But one of the dog is a oh, home, you know, oh, home, he can say that. That is the first dog I've seen, And he also taught him, oh, money payment is too long. He tried very hard, but it is too long for him. But three syllable Om Ahum was just okay for that one of the dog to be able to make that sound. But regardless, even they can recite Om Mani Padme Hum, all the prayers, whatever. That is not the main thing. The main thing is to be able to contemplate, to be able to contemplate and to be able to use reasoning, logic, analyze to reduce and overcome those defilements, those obscurations. It will be very hard. Even some of the most intelligent animals, because of that, that is why by the body itself, they have the obstacles because of the way their brain have developed, It doesn't mean we are superior to them. It's just they have certain ability and we have certain abilities. As I said, some of animal has incredible ability with sight, hearing, smelling, that more than us, much superior than us, But when it comes to the ability to analyze, reasoning, logic, and contemplative and so forth, then they don't have the same ability like we have. And to be able to meditate, contemplate, and to reduce those afflictive emotions, that ability is needed. From that perspective, from that point of view, then they have the obstacles. By the body itself, they have the obstacles from practicing the Dharma, Whereas we have freedom from that. We have better conditions. So that is what, even as a human beings, not everyone has those qualities, 18 qualities. Not even all human beings has same, conducive conditions to practice Dharma. Even with human beings, sometimes people have damage to their brain and then they cannot use. They don't unable to use this ability, to analyze, to use reasoning, logic, and so forth. And if you cannot use that reasoning, logics, and that kind of analysis, contemplate it, then it is hard to practice the meditation, hard to practice those technique, practice to reduce those afflictive emotions through such training, through such practice. So they also have certain obstacles, challenges. So not only such as other beings, such as animal, but even within some human beings, they have certain conditions that make them more challenging and difficult to be able to use their mind for such contemplative, such meditation and practice. some human beings, even though they don't have that kind of challenge, you know, but they are in a, you know, situations where they might not have the freedom to exercise that, you know, freedom to exercise those practice meditations, what they want, due to external conditions. Sometimes we take everything for granted, but there are a lot of people in the world who want to practice and who are not allowed to practice by the governments. Sometimes by government, sometimes by certain other institutions, you know, they don't have freedom to practice what they want. So again, from that point of view, we have freedom from all these conditions. You know, we have the freedom from all these conditions. Not everyone have those freedoms, those conditions. So through such meditations, going through each of those freedom, you know, how different beings doesn't have that freedom, and that we have each of those freedom, eight freedom. How every beings do not have conducive conditions, even among humans, and how we have each of those conducive conditions, what we call 10 endowment. Through such meditation, then we try to recognize and be aware how fortunate and lucky we are. How fortunate and lucky we are. Through such meditation every day, we try to be appreciative and grateful of this life. Instead of waking up and think, you know, complaining in life and being miserable from the morning, you know, how difficult this life is, how challenging it is. Oh, you know, I have this with this, this is not going well, that is not going well, and this and that. Instead of starting the day with that kind of negative state of mind and with a dark mind, negative mind, we try to start the day with being appreciative and grateful for what we have. Doesn't mean we don't have challenges. Life is full of challenges, physical challenges, emotional challenges, many other challenges. You know, that is part of the life in samsara. You know, there are a lot of challenges. Despite all those challenges, at the same time, you know, being aware and recognizing, you know, there's so much good things that we have all these 18 qualities. You know, we have this 8 freedom and 10 endowment. You know, not everyone has that. You know, how fortunate, how lucky, and how fortunate I am, you know, with that, being very grateful, appreciative, joyful. And if we can start that day with that kind of positive state of appreciation, grateful, and joyful, that can affect the whole day. Also, how you interact with others. Instead of interacting with others with negative feelings, negative thoughts. But instead, you know, gratefulness, appreciative, and joyfulness, you know, and that will attract also more positive energies. We start negative with negative feelings, it attracts negative energies. So also recognizing how much potential we have and how precious this life is. You know, life is not only about, you know, accomplishing all our external things. Accumulating this and that, is not about how much degree I have, it's not about how much house I have, it's not about how much car I have, it's not about how much friends I have, it's not about those, but it's, more about cultivating our heart, our mind, through cultivating our mind, our heart, compassion, wisdom. How peaceful are we? How happy are we? How satisfied and content are we? You can have all these external thing and you can be very dissatisfied, very, very unhappy, uncontent. You can have very little of all of that, but you can still be very more satisfied, more content, most happy person in the world. So what do you want to be? What do we want to be? Do we want to be have all these things but very unhappy, very still feeling very empty inside, very empty, uncontent, unsatisfied, unhappy? Or would you like to be more happy, peace, calm, contentment, And so when we reflect on this, when we reflect on how these human beings has this potential to achieve that kind of inner peace, inner joy, inner happiness, then you recognize how valuable this human life is, how precious it is. The external objects, no matter how much money, power, wealth you have, they cannot buy you true inner peace. Your power cannot buy you by force, it cannot bring you inner peace. No much how much wealth you have, you cannot buy that inner peace. But when we have this mind can create inner peace, inner joy, inner satisfactions. That is why having this mind with such conditions is most precious. Recognizing that and having that awareness and being mindful of that all the day is very helpful, beneficial. Otherwise, when we have small challenges here and there, little obstacle here and there, then we feel like, life is almost worthless. Life is not precious, it's worthless. We feel that because we don't understand. We have not truly understood and recognized the value of such life. So that is the practice meditation on precious human rebirth. Not only this human life is so precious, such human life with 18 qualities is so precious with all the potentials, but also recognizing also is rare, is not easy to find again and again, Mm. And so by understanding not only is precious and valuable, but also is rare that you cannot find again and again. Through that understanding, because it's rare and is precious, you want to make most of it. You don't want to waste it, When you realize you have something which is very precious and which is rare, you want to make most use of it. How can I make most of it? It's not something that I can find again and again so easily. And so that you develop a sense of wanting to make this life useful, meaningful, instead of wasting it. When we don't understand the value and preciousness of that, then we can waste this human life without making it any meaningful. We have this human life, but the way we live our life is almost no different than animals. You wake up, you look for what to eat, to keep yourself comfort. If it's too hot, you go in the shade. If it's too cold, you go in the sun. When you need to eat, you eat. When you need to drink, you drink. When you need to shit, you shit. And that is how you go day by day. When you need to reproduce, you reproduce. And sometimes you fight with others over the food, place, mating and so forth. And that is how you live your life. Animals, few life to hundreds life, and we human beings also, that way. But then when you look back, what have you achieved, except then doing all these things? Have your life been any meaningful? Has there been any purpose in your life? And then we begin to see this. We haven't been able to achieve any really meaningful purpose, except then just trying to survive and enjoy a little bit of that. Then, it's such a waste, because we have incredible potential to be more than that. We have incredible potential to more than that. We have the potential, to develop our heart, our mind, our wisdom, our compassions. We have the potential to achieve inner peace, inner joy. We have the potential to be help and benefit to others, make a differences to others, make a difference to the world in some way. Some people might be able to do on bigger, broader, bigger, some less, due to certain cause conditions, but we all have the potential as a human beings, to do something to the world, to do something to the others, to be beneficial to others, and also to develop our own mind, peace, inner peace, and so forth. So, but if we don't recognize, if we are not aware and recognize such potential, the chances are that we can really, lose this great opportunity, an opportunity to make your life something more meaningful, something with greater and higher purpose. And that will be great loss. It is loss for you, it's a loss for the others. It's loss for you, it's loss for others. Because if we have developed ourselves, we can be not only be able to find peace in ourselves and to end this endless samsaric birth and death and all the sufferings. Also, we can do so much for others. and we lose all these opportunity, potentials, you know. So that is why in order to have that understanding and awareness, then we try to meditate on this what we call precious human rebirth, you know. And that is one of the, at the very beginning in our practice, we start with that, you know, recognizing and being mindful of this preciousness, and not only precious, but rarity, precious and rarity of this human life with adding qualities. And thereby, you know, since we recognize and we are aware of that and we are mindful of that, so each day, every day, we try to make our life as useful as possible, as meaningful as possible. And if we can make each day meaningful with a better purpose or higher purpose, then day by day, your week become meaningful. Week by week, your months become meaningful. Month by month, this year become meaningful. Year by year, your life become meaningful. At the end, when the life, whenever it comes, and when you look, oh, you have less regret, less regret, less regret, no regret or less regret, you know. And if we don't have regret or less regret or guilt and so forth at the time of death, we can have more peaceful transitions. Peaceful transitions. Also, you have less fear about future as well. So then, even though we have such a, you know, through such meditation, we are we recognize and aware and mindful of this precious human life with so much potential and how rare it is, and that we want to make it meaningful. We don't want to waste it, and we want to make it meaningful. And the way to make meaningful is, as we mentioned before, is really working with our mind to reduce those obscurations, those defilements. You know, reducing and clearing those defilements, those obscurations is not only good for yourself, it's good for the world. If I don't have anger, I'm less danger to so many people, so many other beings. You know, I would not be harming so many beings out of that anger with my attitude, with my speech, with my actions. So in that way, you know, it's protecting others. It's not only protecting yourself, protecting others from any danger from you. If we don't have greediness, we will not exploit others out of that greediness, which we see in the world. A lot of people out of greediness, attachment, exploiting others, taking advantage of others, and harming others in that way. So you will not do that because of that attachment, greediness. So it is not only helping you to find inner peace, joy, but you are also protecting others from otherwise your harm from yourself to others. And also when we don't have anger and attachment, all those afflictive emotions, also then it's become more easy to develop true love compassion, patience, wisdom, and so forth. And when we develop that, when we are compassion, true love, compassion, wisdom, patience, and so forth, not only you have those feelings, but you will definitely try to help and benefit as much as possible when there's opportunity and when it's possible, you know. Is for example, a mother who has an incredible affection to her child, you know, incredible affection for her child. Because of that affections, because of that care, because of that compassion, if the child need help and if they can be helped, they would not just watch and they will immediately try to help and do something. Their compassion, their affection will not allow them to just watch and not do anything. If it's something that they can do something about it. Same thing when someone has true compassion and loving kindness, they will not be just feeling that and just watching and not doing anything. Do you get it? That compassion, that love will not allow them to just sit down and watch it. Whenever possible and whatever way they can, they will try to do that. And so in that way, then one will help and benefit to others as much as possible. So that is so through such meditation, we have that kind of understanding, awareness, and mindfulness. And thereby we make our life meaningful day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, and our life meaningful as much as possible. Through such awareness and mindful, we want to make our life meaningful and not waste it. But at the same time, sometimes, yes, you find I need to work with my mind. I need to practice the Dharma. I need to reduce and clear those defilement obscuration because due to those defilement obscuration, I'm experiencing pain and I'm also hurting and harming others because of those feelings, because of those obscuration emotions. Therefore, I need to do something to reduce and to clear them. But then we always think, later, you know, after 10 years, after retirements, after retirements, I will have plenty of time. At the moment, I have to take care of too many things, families, job, this and that, you know. So I don't have time. I feel is important but maybe after the retirement, you know. And then when the retirement comes, I haven't been able to travel the world. I want to see the world, travel. First, let me travel and see the world. And then once I've done all that, I will find the time to do the practice. And then you travel and see if you are able, if you have the resource to do, and if you are able, then you travel and that, and then, you get more and more engaged. Oh, you hear, oh, this beautiful place in this part of the world, this very nice place, unique place, this part of the world. There's no end to that. If there's enough resource, so then you cannot find time to practice. We keep on saying, yes, I want to practice. I want to meditate. I want to do retreat, but later. And that later never comes. Always it's become later and later. 2 days later, after 10 years later, after 20 years later, after 50 years, it's still later. there was one quotation statement from one of the good Lama. He said at the very first 20 years, you don't know the Dharma. So 20 years pass without knowing the Dharma. Next 20 years, you know the Dharma, but you keep on saying, I will practice later. And the last 20 years, you will keep on saying, oh, I haven't been able to practice. I wish I could be able to practice. And with that, you pass 20 years. And then at the end, it's nothing to show. It's your life with an empty hand in terms of Dharma practice. It could be like that. It can become like that. And the reason we keep on saying, later, postponing, because we take for granted as the life is waiting for us to finish all our things to do. I need to take care of all list of things that I need to take care of before I could find time to the Dharma. So we have all the list. I want to do this, prepare this, do this, and then I feel I'm done and I will have plenty of time to practice. This is based on that the time is waiting for us to complete all this list we have. And that can be very misleading, because there's no guarantee we will have time to take care of all of these things and find the time to do the practice. Because not only the life come to the end, the life cannot continue, no matter how precious it is, no matter how rare it is, it cannot continue forever. There is end to that. It come to end. Everyone before us who have come, 100 years ago, anyone who had come before us 100 years ago, nobody is alive. Everyone has gone. Most powerful people, most rich people, most beautiful people, most intelligent people, most spiritual peoples. Everyone, they all came and they all went. What is left is a story about them. In 50, 100 years, all of us will be gone. Only that will left will be those others, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren, your grandnephews, and cousins, or relative that might be maybe talking about, about our grandparents, our granduncles, our grand, cousins and so forth. But we will all be gone. Not only we will all be gone, not only we will face that, whether we want to think about it or not, but reality, the fact is that anyone who is born will die. That is the reality. Buddha discover and point out to us, and that is something if we observe around us, that's the truth. That truth the Buddha found and point to us, that Buddha discovered and point to us, that reality, that fact hasn't changed. It's the same fact, reality. Not only we all will face the death, we do not know when we will face the death. That is the thing. Not only death is certain, the time of death is so uncertain. That is the key. The problem we keep on postponing it because, we take as though the time of death is, because we don't realize, we don't recognize and realize, and this awareness that death can come anytime, any moment is so uncertain. It's so uncertain. That is the key. That's why we keep on postponing. While we want to find time to practice, do retreat meditation, but we keep on postponing because that in our mind we feel like there's a time. But in reality, we might not have time. Death could come after 50 years. It could come within next 30 years. It could come within next 10 years. It would come in this year. It could come in this month, this week. There's no guarantee that we'll live for this year or next 10 years or next 20 years, next 50 years. There's no guarantee that. So meditating on, death impermanent, and especially uncertainty of the death impermanence is very powerful. To have that understanding and awareness and being, again, maintaining that awareness every day play very, very big role to help us to not to postpone from things that we feel important. Because there are a lot of things in our life we feel those are important, but we keep on postponing, thinking that we have time to take care of them later. And we might be distracted in things we don't feel so important, but still we get distracted to those things and feeling that we will have more time to do to those we feel important later. But again, since the time of death is so uncertain, that can be very deceiving. And if we normally we don't think about it, analyze, but if we really think, analysis, normally we feel age is on my side. Okay, that's how we feel. I'm not in 90, I'm not in hundreds. Feel like the age in my side. In my cases, I still feel like maybe 30 more years based on, your age, based on your family's histories. Based on that, you feel that age in my side, health is my side. I feel good, the the tests show everything is normal. There is nothing wrong. Everything shows normal. You feel good. So you feel health is on your side, age is on your side, health is on your side, and you don't live in a country like, let's say, like in Iran now, in that part of the world where when uncertainty of that, the bomb can drop anytime, anywhere, and we feel we live in a safe place, you know. So because that can safe environment, safe place, age is my side, health is my side, environment is my side. So therefore, it feels like I'm not going to die today. I'm not going to die this next 10 years, for sure, not this year. Absolutely not this month, not this week, this 21, but I can. Those are not guaranteed. Those which we feel that they are on our side can be very misleading, deceptive. If we look around, even among our families, friends, colleagues that we know, we don't have to look far away. We just try to look among our own families, friends, colleagues. You know, how many young people have died before the old? You know, child dying before their parent, grandparent. Some of them before even grandparent. So age doesn't guarantee you will overlive those who are older than you. That is one of the things that we feel I will live more because age is my side, but that might be misleading because we often we have even seen around our own family, the friend where younger persons had died before much more older persons. We think health is on my side. Also, we have seen around our own families, friends, colleagues, where someone who seems very healthy suddenly gone. Someone who has some health issue, they are still alive, and then some who have no health issue and suddenly gone. Suddenly gone. Feeling that you are healthy doesn't guarantee that you overlive those who are doesn't feel unhealthy. You know. So again, this I'm going to live more because I'm healthy can be very misleading too. Same environment, you know, peaceful environment. How many people in peaceful environment died before people who live in violent environment, you know? Even in peaceful environment, people die every day. How many accidents? People die out of accident, you know? Few thousand every year, every day in the world. I don't know, there were quite big numbers. One time I saw statistics, you know, dying from the different accident, you know, could be from car accident, could be accident while you are walking, you know, accident by while you are walking in some places, you know, from different and then how many people just die in their sleep, you know, everything seems just fine. And then everything seems just fine and then suddenly gone, you know. So then when we think of that, you know, the time of day is so uncertain. Meditating on that, the time of day is so uncertain. Therefore, not only not only I will die, I could die anytime. I could die anytime. Having that understanding, that awareness, you know, and having that mindful all the time is very powerful awareness to overcome this sense of grasping permanent that I'm not going to die soon. Thereby, you know, postponing things that we feel important. You know, like we find so many times I'm sure that everyone would, when they die, they would like to die where they don't leave mess behind, you know. But a lot of people, when they die, there was no will, and now children are fighting, relatives are fighting. So many families, they find that. And because they thought they will have time to deal with all this, and then suddenly death come without having to done that. If they have done that, probably there will be less fight. There will be less, what do you call? I've seen so many families, you know. It's so sad when your parent pass away and they leave heritage, inherent, what do you call? Inherited. Instead of being helping to them, it become a cause of problem. It didn't, before there was good relationship, the sibling had good relationship. After that, they have horrible relationship, many of them fighting over so much, you know. And that is one of the things sometimes, because there is no clarity left there, you know. And I think a lot of time everyone will like to leave those clear, but I think a lot of time you feel you will do later. You will have time to take it that later, and before you are able to do that, something happens and you pass away, you know. So then effect is felt by the people who are left behind. So that is just one example. But if I'm aware and mindful that I could die anytime, I would like to take care of those actions now. Probably it doesn't require much time to do that. I could do it today or in this week, and then I don't have to worry about that. People who are left behind doesn't have to worry about that. One example, you know. Probably there are things that maybe before I die, I would like to solve things unresolved. There are few unresolved I would like to resolve, you know. For some, maybe I need to forgive, I need to apologize. I need to forgive. I need to let it go. For some, I need to ask for forgiveness, you know, apologize and forgiveness. So there are certain things unresolved that you would like to resolve before you pass away. But then again, when you don't have this awareness, you could die any moment. We always think, I will have time to resolve that later. And then suddenly something stuck, death comes, and then you feel very, regret and feel bad that you haven't been able to resolve that, you know. And so, and same with the Dharma practice, we feel like we want to practice that, we keep on postponing. And then when suddenly that happen, then you regret. I wish I would, I wish I could have given more time to practice. I wish I would have given more time to study, practice. I wish I could have given more time to meditate, do retreat, and so forth. But then there's nothing, it's just a regret now. But if I have this awareness and mindful all the time, then instead of postponing that, I will try to take time and effort to study more, to practice more now, to find more time to do meditation or retreat and so forth. And then even when death comes, then you feel, I have not much regret. I've tried to make most of it. That is something I feel important, and I have made effort and to find more time and to be able to do that. And with that, you have less regret. And not only that, because you have already studied, practiced, meditated more, you have trained yourself better. You have created cause and conditions. You have prepared yourself better. You have trained and prepared yourself better for more peaceful death and better futures. So then also there's less fear, less worry, less fear, less worry, less regret. And that will be wonderful. And even when you have this awareness, I could die anytime, any moment. If we don't die today, tomorrow, when we wake up, we feel, oh, one more day. So precious. I got one more day. We appreciate, it's like you are given one more day. You are given one more week. You are given one more month. You are given one more, you would feel so appreciative, you are given one more day to live, one more day to take care of things. You feel that you have been given one more week, one more month, one more year to take care of things, to live and to do something good and positive that you like to do. So there's sense of, appreciative, joyful, to have this day, this week, this month, this year, So that is, meditating on, through meditating on death impermanent. That death is certain, but the time of death is so uncertain that it could come anytime, any moment. And not only the time of death is so uncertain, what helped you at the time of death and after death is only our practice, nothing. When we die, as Buddha said, when we die, the king and beggar, they die in the same way. They both go empty-handed. They cannot take one penny with them. Even the king cannot take one penny with them when they die. They just die like the beggar without being able to take anything, empty-handed. No matter how much wealth we have, when we die, we leave everything behind. We cannot take one penny. Most likely, we might be attached to them, and that can make it even more painful. The wealth cannot help. Power cannot help. No matter how powerful, it cannot stop you from dying. No matter how smart you are, how intelligent you are, it cannot stop, from dying. Nothing. And, no matter how many family, friends you have, even they want to help you, they cannot. When you die by yourself. You come in this world yourself alone, and when you go alone, leaving everyone behind. All the friends, all the family, no matter how many friends, you leave everyone here and you go to the next alone yourself. Even this very body that we are so attached to, very attached to, that has been with us since the birth until now, we have never separated from this body. Never separated from this body, which we have been together with all the time, and to which we are very attached to. Even at that time, even that one will leave behind. Even that one will leave behind. We go. So therefore, what we help at the time of what we can take is our practice. Our practice is the only things, Our practice will help at the time of death to deal with that reality of facing the death. The stronger practice you have, the more better tools that you have to deal so that you can have more calm, peaceful death. And also after death, what kind of rebirth you have, it depends on your action, your karma, your practice. Your wealth doesn't decide what kind of rebirth you have in the future. Your power doesn't decide, Your intelligence doesn't, But what decide what kind of futures, such as rebirth that you have, is your own practice, the karma. What kind of karma you created, positive karma, negative karma, So therefore, through such meditations, then, not only we are going to die, we could die any moment. And since it's the only Dharma that help at the time of death and after death, therefore I should focus more on the Dharma, give more time, more energies to practice the Dharma, because that is the thing only that help you at the time of, while you are alive, at the time of death and after death. If you have strong practice Dharma, when you are still alive, you will have more calm, peaceful, more joyful life. At the time of death, you will have more peaceful death. After the death, you will have better futures. Therefore, is only that practice that really helps at those. And therefore, with that understanding, you feel more effort, more effort in the practice of Dharma, and also you feel more urgency of practicing the Dharma instead of postponing it again, Okay, so I think with that, maybe if there's question, I can take one questions or two questions. Any questions?
When it comes to how practicing in life, I have a lot of friends and myself at times where people have gone through compassion fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Often a lot of people have got a lot of personal struggles they're working through and repetitive. And on top of that, helping other people with lots of struggles and understanding there's a lot of obscurations with the mind. Emotion does seem to play a huge part in it, those negative emotions, and looking at antidotes and skillful means to deal with those emotions that sometimes can feel out of control, especially with people who've gone through a lot of stress continuously through life and their nervous systems start to become unbalanced. So then they have to tread very carefully and can be more subject to emotion. Self-care has been a big thing lately in the Western world and has helped me too to understand that we must take that time to look after our minds to be able to help other people.
Yes.
But sometimes those lines get a little bit blurred. someone once told me that you can hold back and give respect to someone to be able to do their own work to help themselves through their own journey. I suppose when you're feeling tired and you do have ill health in your body and you do want to help other people and you need to help yourself, what's the first step?
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes I love to help people, but I get tired, and anger can arise when I see other people's ignorance, but then I go, that's ignorant. And I go, I need to be more patient, more kind, more kinder to myself. And so I use my own path as a learning path.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I feel sad and sorrowful when I see other people struggling with the obscurations of the mind, and I feel powerless.
Well, I think your struggles is struggle of a lot of people's, that kind of dilemma and find balance, is um, so. First of all, I think, of course, we try to help benefit others as much as possible, but also taking care of yourself is important. Um, you are one of the sentient beings that need to be taken care of. That need to be, that is the object of compassion. That is the object of loving kindness. You know, um, if you are also one of sentient beings, then just as you need to take care of other sentient beings, you need to take care of that sentient being as well. So I don't think that one should feel guilty of, taking care of yourself, and thereby you don't have time to take care of others. Because in order to take care of yourself, by recognizing you are one of sentient beings, you are helping one of sentient beings, you are taking care of one sentient beings. The other things, the problem is when we become overly cherishing ourselves on the expense of others' sufferings.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, and that is the sometimes we don't want to be, but sometimes we have to be mindful of our own situations, our own physical state, mental state. If we find our physically, mentally too stressed, too tired, it's better to just take a rest and recover, and then we can give up. Because when you're too stressed out and you are tired and you try to give up, that could turn into resentment later. Resentment, and that is not a good outcome. You are trying to help someone, but later it becomes resentment. Not only resentment, then that can be an obstacle for in the future for us to reach our enemy. We are so scared and fearful of helping others because you have gone through that.
We're seeing a lot of that
You know,
in the society.
yeah, and that is the people now are fearful of helping others because they are burned out themselves so much. And because they burn out so much because they didn't take care of themselves when they need to. Sometimes your body needs rest. Sometimes your emotion mind needs rest and some help to, and there is nothing, when that is the case, there's nothing to feel about guilty about not being to help, because your intentions to help benefits always there. But because of your own situation, physically, emotionally, now you need to take little rest. As long as you have that wish to help, benefit, and when I'm fully recovered, when I'm fully kind of, feel that and ready to help, and that with the mind is wanting to help is always there, and that is the loving kindness, compassion, the mind to help. But at the moment, sometimes we need to take the break in order to re-energize, and that it doesn't become negative burnout and resentment and all of that. And so I think Yeah, and so that complicit the problem is that we have to be honest with ourselves. Am I just making this excuse? Am I really tired, or is just I'm making excuse, not wanting to help? You know, really for that, then we have to be honest, and we have to really be aware of our body, our emotion, our mind. You know, sometimes definitely we are tired and stressed, and we need to kind of take a little break and re-energize and need to take care of all of them. Sometimes also we might be not wanting to help, then we can say, oh, I'm tired. Same with the practice, sometimes we are lazy. Our body is not tired, but our mind says, I'm tired today, so, and then that excuse can be every day, oh, I feel tired. I don't have time for meditation. I feel tired. Sometimes you are really tired. Your body is really tired. Your mind is really tired, but sometimes our mind play the game. And that is where we have to be more mindful and aware and watching whether our mind is playing the game or is really tired. If it's really tired, then you should take the rest and that. Yeah. Yeah.
And then jealousy, interesting emotion. I've come across that in my life, and I struggle to understand. I do understand it at some levels, and at other levels I don't. What a skillful means to deal with when you see jealousy. And jealousy obviously is different in its nature in different circumstances. Sibling rivalry, you mentioned.
Yeah.
So it can sneak up on you and you're not aware of it. It can create havoc in your life.
Mm-hmm.
What are some antidotes to that?
Well, first of them, being mindful, practicing mindful and being mindful when jealousy arises, when anger arises, when attachment arises, when a sense of arrogance arises, being able to recognize in that moment, oh, these emotions arising, to be able to recognize is arising, to identify what that emotion is. That is the first thing. And then second thing is then trying to apply different antidotes, different practice, different meditation. That will be the second once you recognize and identify that.
So I often hear there's a lot of pain, a lot of emotional pain of how can someone so kind and loving and blood relative be so insensitive, cruel or abandoning, and that pain gets attached to. How do you release that?
The pain or what?
The pain, like I've heard people have been quite hurt by their families.
Yeah.
And I myself reached a point of forgiveness, but I see other people stuck in that, and it seems like a process of time having to allow that pain to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a quicker way to release those attachments to the obscurations in our minds?
Again, I think different people take different pace. I think we all have to go in our pace. Sometimes we cannot force someone, Some people can kind of heal quickly. They have more pace. Some people, despite doing all different things, whether it's meditation, whether it is therapy, whether it is different things, still it takes more time for certain individuals and allowing them, whether it's oneself or others, allowing them to kind of go through their own pace, but making sure they get all the support that they need in terms of, different health, whether it's help from such as therapy, help from different spiritual practice, meditations that can be supportive, So I don't think that.
Is there a meditation practice that I could suggest?
Yeah, like mindfulness meditation can be one of those, can be coming and going instead of holding on them, and instead of getting engaged with the thought, as we discussed that. Doing different analytical meditations can be helpful. Lojong practice can be helpful. Mind training, what lojongs, So there are different meditations, and see again, some people find particular methods of meditation more helpful than others. Something that find very helpful to someone, another person might not find as effective, and the different form of meditation practice they might be more helpful. Yeah. Okay.
On animals, if animals, as we know, can't practice Dharma, how can they get reborn as human?
Yes. Yes.
I have an answer to that.
Pardon?
I had a little dog, little foxy terrier, and I was highly allergic to dogs, fatal dog allergy to saliva, which I overcame. And when she had kidney failure for the last 2 years of her life, I nursed her. And I used to hold her and teach her how I cooked and wished her a better rebirth in her next life. And anyway, she died and I was devastated. I never had children. End of my life of being able to reproduce. And then a little baby puppy got born and the vet told us about it. And we went and got it. And it happened to be born in the house that my partner was born in. And all these years I've been giving her up to be a human in her next life with human babies. And here I am. I felt like she sent me down a puppy. So I think sometimes the practice of good intention and love in itself can be very helpful and beneficial, and a dog can help in that process. That's my experience in my life.
Of course, it's more challenging compared to human beings. But again, even as animals, you can see the expression of love, compassions, so that even though they don't have like our meditation to the loving kindness to improve, get stronger and stronger, extend to more and more sentient beings, they might not be able to do that through training, but they can still have compassion for another species of their own species, or sometimes different species. That loving kindness, compassion can be the cause to a better rebirth. They already have a karmic seed, positive lot of karmic seed, just like ourselves. Some of them might have even more karmic seed than ourselves. Unfortunately, one of negative karma manifested at the time of death, so that is why. But in terms of their mental state, there is a lot of positive karma, and that compassion can activate one of those positive karma to have a better rebirth. Sometime seeing holy objects, or being around holy objects, circumambulating holy objects, or sometimes hearing a mantra or prayer, and that imprint, or those can also play a role as a awakening one of, or giving arise to one of the positive karma to arise, and so that they can have a still human rebirth. So it's not impossible for them to have not it's not impossible for them to have a human rebirth. They can still have many different opportunity way to have human rebirth, but relatively is more challenging. Human beings also, while we have all these positive side, also in terms of negative side, we have much more bigger the damage we can do, much more stronger negative karma we can create than the animals. So it's both way, we have incredible potential, at the same time potential to do such a incredible destructive. Animal have also less power to do good. At the same time, they are also less to do destructive. I think we are already 12. So I think I will take cautions. Let. Yes, please.
So animals are very good at living in the present.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. Much better than us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it be a bird or a dog or a cat, they live in the present. We don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then we'll see you later. Okay.
Wow, how are you doing? You know, but you don't look well.
Oh, man. I'm working on it. I tend to be around.
Yeah, nice to meet you. That's right.
Where is the way to post the recording?
Let me see.
It must be a button on there to do that.
Someone that noticed this.
Oh, I've got to refresh my memory.
I think report might have all this.
Stop in it.
Okay.
Let's see. Tara.
I guess that is
It's
it.
beautiful. This is modern. I haven't got one of these.
This is this
I'm learning. I'm going to be getting one to learn because I'm going to work.
meeting.
Yes.